morning, y'all. It's just after 6. Hopefully we can conclude this repairs on this Vrf system. Just thought I'd show you guys sunrise. See if I can get you a better view. But yeah, come along. Hey everyone. This is the first video for 2021. Today is the 25th of Jan. This, however, is not my first job for the year. It's just been a little bit crazy, a lot of changes, and yeah, I only had time to actually film what I'm doing right now, and what I'm doing seems to be somewhat interesting, so I thought why not give you guys a little snapshot of what I'm busy with. So right here we're in the process of changing our two inverter compressors. This is a 3-phase system. It is also a heat recovery system, as you guys can tell by my channel name by now. I am Vrf Tech, so I work with a lot of variable refrigerant flow systems. So let's have a look at our controls. I've probably shown you guys this in some of my previous videos. Let me get the screw out here and we can have a look at some of the boards at the back. So let me get that for you. Alright. One thing, guys, that I will recommend if you guys are new in the trade, is get you one of these. You know, keep all your screws together, that way you don't lose them. Yeah. So we've got our two filter boards, and right at the bottom there we've let's go right here, we've got our fan inverter board. That board drives both ECM 3-phase DC fan motors. The compressors are also 3-phase DC. This unit's running at this stage. This is actually the main outdoor unit, the master condenser, but we've optioned out this one, so the system's only running off one system right now, which isn't very efficient, but at least it's got them something for the meantime. I'll try and get as much footage as I can. So right now we're just prepping everything. The new compressors, they do not come with the rubber mounts, so kind of have to reuse the old ones. Yeah, so we'll put this in the new compressor, get them in place. But before we do that, I'm gonna brace this back together. This is our accumulator return valve, and this was undone specifically for testing purposes during my investigating on what exactly failed in the system causing our compressors to fail. So checking these will save you a lot of time and a lot of effort. So that, I guess, would be tip number one. Be work smart, as I always say, not hard. Alright, there's two ways you can do everything: the smart way or the hard way. So you don't want to get all new compressors in and everything, vacuum the system, commission, and find out later that your accumulator return valve is defective, which at that point you would have to isolate, pump out, isolate, and yeah, remove that, vacuum the condenser, and that's a whole lot of work that is just unnecessary. So while we have the space here, we're going to test it. I've already tested it. I might give you guys a couple of tips on how to test these. At the same time, what you want to be doing is checking these capillaries right here from your oil separator. You can also check these you check your temperature differential while the system is running. I'll definitely recommend giving the system 15 minutes to stabilize before checking these. So then you check your temperature across, because these tend to clog up very easily as well, especially if you've got dirt in the system. So yeah, so these will be the top things that you want to check if ever you have compressor failure. Check your capillaries on your oil separator, check your accumulator return valve. The other thing that you can do is check what your manufacturer specifications are, but you can put the compressor on a scale, and that will give you a rough idea of how much oil you've actually lost. So if the oil is not sitting in the accumulator, if these are not clogged up, the oil is sitting in the system. So then you need to figure out why the oil has not returned back to the condensing unit. Alright guys, so a couple of steps that I haven't recorded, but what I'm doing right now is I'm collecting oil in case we need to see exactly what's in it. But to be quite honest with you, the way the oil on this system looks, it's very clean. Let me just reactivate that solenoid on our accumulator return valve. There we go. Let's see, once it starts flowing, it's active. Yeah, I mean, the oil does not look bad at all. This system doesn't have any pressure in it. Which side is the camera? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open the suction a little bit, the suction ball valve a little bit, the ease system in the rest of the ease pressure, I mean, in the rest of the system. So just to get that flow getting a little bit better, I'm going to open it. There we go, just a little. Alright. And that is just so we can get better flow out and get a full jar of oil. Look at that. Alright, there's a lot of oil in this accumulator, which is actually worrisome, but this oil does not look bad. Dig in closer. So I just inspected all the welds, as I did yesterday as well. All the welds look good. Welds are looking good. Alright, so I need to get some degreaser and clean up all this oil. I pumped out the remaining oil that was in the accumulator, got rid of that. Yesterday, strangely, what happened was the main board switched off. There was power to the unit, but the main board switched off. Now this board is fed from our hub board, and all the LEDs were off yesterday as well. So I'm not sure if it was direct sunlight or just switched off for no reason. My mission this morning was to come and investigate why this was off. The minute I applied power to the outdoor unit, everything came back on. So right now we've got the system, I'm not sure if you can see the LEDs. We got the system in vacuum mode, which will initiate and open all the condenser valves, both on the master and on the slave condenser, as well as all the Indo units. So like I said, there's about 13 of them, and if we have a look, there is 3 mode control units, so our MCUs, which is 1, 2, 3. It's a heat recovery system, so that allows us to have heating and cooling at the same time. So yeah, as you guys can see, there's a bunch of oil laying all over. I'm gonna clean that out, put the compressor blankets back on both sides. There's our bidirectional liquid line filter dryer. I've also checked the welds are good on both sides. So we're gonna get the blankets back on, and we're gonna set up the vacuum. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull with my 3/8 hose. I'm gonna pull over here, and I'm gonna pull with a normal 1/4 inch from the liquid line. Normally I would pull on all 3 with my little manifold that I've made, but I lost it somewhere, so I'll have to make a new one. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, we got the first blanket on, noise dampening blanket. We're about to put the second blankets on, but I would just like to go over a couple of things here for those that are new in the VRF systems. Now, this unit has got the ability to option code one of the defective compressors. If you've got a defective compressor in the condenser, you are able to option it out. The purpose of that is purely for diagnosis purposes. Alright, so that you can diagnose the system to see that your second compressor is operating properly. It is not intended for you to run the system that way. In fact, it is recommended that you never do that. It's fine to start the system up that way so that you can kind of narrow down what your issues are, whether it is a compressor issue or if you've got a controls issue on your inverter PC boards. There are other ways that you can test these boards as well. If you don't have an inverter checker, you can actually do some resistance checks on the board itself, and that will also tell you whether or not you've got a defective PC board. But I just wanted to go over the reason why the manufacturer recommends that you do not operate these compressors independently for prolonged periods. So for testing only, not for operation. Alright, and I'm going to explain. So this is compressor number 1, and this is compressor number 1's discharge. Alright, as you'll see, it flows into this oil separator right here, comes up, vapor rises to the top, superheated vapor rises to the top. Over here we've got a check valve, right, and the oil being heavier drops to the bottom of the separator, is fed up with that pressure, is fed up and comes to this capillary right here. Alright, comes back down this way, drops a little bit of pressure, comes this way, and as you can see, goes in. Let me see if I can get you a better angle. There we go, goes in at the back, right? Now if you trace that line, you'll see that it comes to this compressor suction, and this compressor, the oil separator, feeds into this compressor suction, and for that reason you cannot operate these units with only one compressor. So you do have the function of option coding out one defective compressor, but you cannot operate these systems like that, because you're going to end up feeding all of this oil into that compressor. So I don't think I have to explain any further what's going to happen next, right? So yeah, get a good understanding of the systems that you're working on, learn them inside and out, and you won't have any troubles. Now, yeah, all right, I'll show you guys a little bit later how to get into vacuum mode and all of that stuff. Right now I just want to get the blankets back on so that I can connect the vacuum pump. Then I'm gonna go over to the supply house and get some degreaser and clean up some of this oil here. Alright guys, it's been a couple of hours and we're sitting on 883 microns. So we're just running two hoses, the 3/8 and the 1/4 inch. We do have a core removal tool in here, so the core is removed. I'm 100% positive that has been why we've done not too bad. I'm gonna do an oil change on this pump and yeah, let's see how far we get. Good morning guys. So this is day 3 into the repair. I had actually completed the repair and started up the unit yesterday. It's just checking my system pressure right now, option 5, and it tells me that low side is 8.4 bars of pressure. Anyway, we were having some issues yesterday with this unit. This is the master condenser, which is running as a slave right now. When we connected this as a master, it kept on giving me an E108 saying that there's 1 or 2 or more devices that have the same address code or the same address, which was very weird. I wasn't sure whether or not the EPROMs were maybe in the incorrect unit. I swapped the EPROMs, that didn't work, because at the end of the day what happened was all of the unit's information is stored on the EPROM. So the software version, the model number, so this EPROM knows that it needs to look for 2 inverter BC boards, it needs to look for 2 filter boards, it needs to look for a fan board that has 2 fan motors, and all of that jazz. So I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but as you can see, that's all of our indoor units, that's all our outdoors, indoor units, MCUs, and this one. Let's just go through the list real quick. These are a bunch of outdoor settings that you can access, such as discharge temperature, suction temperature, pressure. You can check the compressor frequency, drawing amps. Right now I'm just going to go back to home screen. There we go. So this one will show C9, C8, which tells us that it's picking up the both units are picked up. Alright, this is our IPM, the inverter power module. Gets cooled via a cool gas, and we've got a intercooler right there with an expansion valve, so it's not cold but it's cool. So the temperature on your IPM is typically 50 degrees, and this line would be about 28 to 30 odd degrees. I mean, that's still a 20 degree difference to what the PC board is, so we absorb that heat and transfer that. So basically today what I'm going to try and do is try and reinstate everything back to the way it was and see if there's something that I missed, because this does happen, guys. Don't beat yourself up about it, but let's just have a look and see, because I suspected that there might be an issue with this main board. So let's have a look and see. I'll dive into it and then I'll give you. Alright guys, so I'm just having a look at the service data, and things are looking good. Yeah, unfortunately we were not able to. Actually, this is very interesting. We're only picking up one compressor over there, as well as one compressor over there. So I think the issue we had with the E108 error code is on the outdoor unit addressing, so we might have to readdress the outdoor unit manually. Both compressors are running, but if I have a look at my address over here, yeah, that is something that has been assigned to it, and yeah, we'll see what we can do to correct that. But other than that, the pressures are not bad, temperatures are not bad. Yeah, it's not extremely hot outside. It's quite cool. IPM temps are a little bit on the one condenser, maybe a little bit high, but it's okay. Suction temperatures are good. PEV